I want to very quickly touch on this debate about emulating human beings, because I have some ideas
Yes.
there, and I always want to discuss them. Um, I mean, it's a given, not a given, but it's accepted, or it's like a, I don't know, something that like, hey, this is the received opinion that we should always try to get the text to speech to sound as human as possible. And I'm of the camp that there are situations where you want to do that, and there are situations where you should not try to do that.
I
So for
agree. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
I just wanted to let the folks know that, right, you're not one of those who are like, hey, it's got to sound human all the time and so forth, all right? Because there are people out there who take that message when they see that demo, the Google demo, they say, okay, well, this is the mission, is to make it sound as human as possible. And I'm like, yeah, in some use cases, like the use case you cited, I think clearly is appropriate. Um, but if we just focus on and only do work where you're emulating, I think we lose a lot of potential interesting things that we could do with text to speech, right? Something that's zany, something that's funny, something that is,
Right.
or something, for example, I always like to give this example of blind people. They detest how slow we talk. You know, for them, when we talk normally, we talk very slowly, and they're like, "All right, hurry up, go on." And
Right.
so,
Right. Right.
I talked to a couple of coders who are blind, right? And there are coders out there who folks
Sure.
who are blind who are coders, and these folks, the way they navigate is, they want to read a piece of text. They want the thing to read them the piece of text so that they know what it is, right? And so they use text to speech technology, and for them, they speed it up, right?
Right.
They speed it up. They want to go on because
Sure.
the capacity that was going into vision processing, because it doesn't need to be in vision processing, is going into audio
Right.
processing. So they're like really a lot better than sort of the sighted folks. And then the text to speech engine that they were using, um, that text to speech was upgraded, right, to sound more human. Okay, which is a great thing for folks who wanted to, but for them it was a retrograde move, right? Because like, gosh,
Right.
I lost the thing that could go very fast, and I want to go back to it. So they were like pleading with the software guys to have a version of it that is the older version. So that's the example that I give sometimes to just caution people against the sort of just thinking them dogmatically, that you need to always have it sound like a human being, whether it's the voice or conversationally, and so on and so forth. Anyway, I wanted to make that little
So
point.
we always, yeah. So if we're creating a conversational AI solution for someone, we will never lie to them. So
Mhm.
if like I do sometimes, I say, are you a computer or are you a human? Or just say, are you a human? We will answer correctly. We know this is the Gabby voice for Puretalk.ai, and we hope you find this pleasant and it helps our conversation. But we won't. Oh, I'm sorry. I hope you can't hear that. There's some construction going on in the
It's okay.
background.
We'll plow through.
Um, but yeah, and as you said, there are times when it's appropriate to even maybe have a little bit of a mechanical voice,
Yeah, yeah,
where it makes more sense in the solution.
yeah, exactly. You wanted to some, as long as, here's the thing that shouldn't be compromised. Intelligibility should not be compromised, right? People need
Right,
to be able to
right,
understand what the words are, but you can have you could have actually voices, artificial voices that sound robotic, like a robot came from a robot, but it's completely understandable. You know what it's saying, just it doesn't sound like a human being. And sometimes that's what you want. I don't know, games, or it could be for children, or it could be,
right, right.
right. Anyway, so I wanted to make that point. So you were talking to us about the story where you raised some money from Mark Cuban, and you've raised some money from other places, I'm assuming, here and there, um, for the folks who are out there, trying to take an idea and pitch it and so forth, what would be your basic advice to them to get traction when they engage with a potential investor?
So I'm gonna have to pause you here because they're jackhammering outside my window, and I couldn't hear anything you said.
You didn't hear anything I said. Can I repeat? Yeah.
Hold on. Oh, they're building out the space next to it. Okay, try again.
Okay. All right. So very quickly. So you've raised money, right? Successfully. Is it that loud? Yeah.
It is. I'm glad you can hear it. Let's try again. I'll
Okay.
turn it up even more.
All right. Okay. So you yourself, you have raised money successfully, right? You're telling us about the story
Several times. Yep.
Several times.
Several different companies.
Yeah. So what would you what advice would you give someone or a group of folks who are trying to raise? What kind of tips would you give them, like the basics, like before you start with a conversation with a potential investor, you do X, Y, and Z, or present yourself in this way or that way?
So one of the worst things I see people do when they're pitching, and I used to go to a lot of pitch events where you just stood up and pitched. One of the worst things you can do, even for any speech or anything else, is read your charts. If you read your charts, no one's going to take you seriously, whether you're giving a speech or pitching for money. If you can't talk off the cuff, if you can't talk in the moment, and if you don't know your information well enough that you don't need a script, then you're lost. Now, I have an advantage because my degree is in theater. So I'm used to performing, and it's a rather strange background for a technologist, but and an entrepreneur. But it's important to engage with your investors. It's important to look them in the eyes, because they're really not, at the end of the day, investing in your product. They're investing in you. And if they don't have confidence that you're the guy to lead this effort and to make them money, then they won't invest. And I think at the end of the day, it all boils down to how much do they believe in you.
Okay. So
and you raised money. You've seen that too.
Yeah, but no, you've raised a lot more. So so probably you have a lot more to share as far as advice. Yeah, I totally agree with you. First of all, you have to look like you're authentic, you're into it, you have put your heart and soul into it, that you can talk about it in your sleep, that you know better than anyone else in the room what the problem is, and so on and so forth. Yeah, totally agree with you. How about the fact, because I think when you talked to Mark Cuban, you already had some customers, some traction, right? You said, here's what I believe, here's what I want, the proposition, but I'm just not just talking. Actually, I have some customers. Do you think that helps?
So yeah, so my original email to Mark Cuban was 3 lines long. Because if you talk, whether it's Ashton Kutcher or Mark Cuban or who else you're going after, you've got maybe 1.5 to 2 seconds to grab their attention. And most of these guys do read their emails. I remember I was at some kind of a conference event, and someone came up to a friend from Mark Cuban's office who was with me, and the guy who was looking for money said, "Can I have your card?" And he said, "We don't carry cards, and I won't tell you my email address. If you can find it and figure it out, then I'll hear your pitch." So you got to work for it.
Yeah, that's a good sort of, okay, if you're if you're too lazy to figure out how to find me, well, probably you're not gonna go anywhere fast until you get that skill. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, one thing I always do in fact, I use it for everyone, not just when I'm pitching sales or pitching whatever, is to keep my email as short as possible, because people will read it. Right. If I have 3 paragraphs, or sometimes I see like 4 paragraphs from someone, like, oh gosh, I wish I could sit down with this person and just tell them that if they just wrote 1 line, I'd probably read it. I just look at the glance. I glance at the paragraphs and I just delete it. I mean, probably that's not the right thing to do, but I don't have time, right? Or I
Right.
not
I mean,
delete it.
time
Sometimes I
is
say I'll
right.
go back to it later if it looks like interesting, and then usually I don't have time.
Right.
But if
You
it's a
lose it.
one,
It's in the
yeah,
file.
it's a one-liner, and I don't know why people who are trying to sell or business development, they send with a template, meaning it looks very, I don't know, made up, right? There's an image and it's just too structured, and I don't like that. I like something that looks like
Right.
somebody wrote
Exactly.
on their own,
Exactly.
and they didn't send it to 1,000 people and so forth, right? They've been an effort.
Right. Yeah. When
Um,
you get that email that has your name in the middle wrong because they forgot to change it from the last person they sent it to.
it's a, I give I'm sympathetic to sales guys, right? But I'm not sympathetic to lazy sales guys. I'm not, because I know it's hard, but you can do things like, and also be creative, right? Be original, you know. Don't be hokey. That's those are the things I've learned the hard way. um
Yeah.
so So at this point, what else are you doing? Besides this wonderful text to speech, company that you've joined as you're the CTO, right?
I'm their chief product officer.
Chief product. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah.
What would be the second thing that you would say is also, grabbing your
So,
passion?
there are a couple of things I do to keep busy because I have to be busy all the time. I can't just sort of sit in a chair.
You are one of
Although I
those
do
people.
love to read.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, I do read. I read, about a book a week. But
Well, reading is actually reading for me is busy because your
yeah,
brain is engaged. It's not. You're not
exactly,
I don't.
exactly.
It's not
I
taking a
actually,
break for me.
I
I don't take
actually,
a break when I read. Go ahead.
I actually tried to retire once and hated it. Absolutely hated it.
No, that's I think the concept of retiring has to go by the wayside. Doesn't
Yeah,
make sense.
yeah,
You know?
yeah, yeah. Because as soon as you stop using your brain, you uh,
Yeah,
might as
yeah,
well kick off.
exactly. Yeah.
But
And there are so many exciting things to do, especially technologists like us, right? There's never a shortage of things to
so there's
do,
a
and
couple of things.
yeah.
Um, one of the things I'm doing is trying to figure out the right way to introduce and um, create an environment for kids with AI. So I have a 3-year-old grandson,
Mhm.
and I've been working on different approaches to create his own Alexa for him, but not Alexa. It'll be my code, and it'll be nothing to do with Amazon. It's just that's the best way to describe it. I have a little robot that I can put a card in and basically run Linux on it and put an open source AI on there. And I think I've tried 4 or 5 different approaches now over the last 3 years since he was born, and I haven't really found the perfect solution yet because you have to deal with first of all, at what age do you introduce it? And my guess is 3 is still too young because he really doesn't have the focus to be able to have a meaningful conversation.
Mhm.
Certainly, he does with me, but not with the computer.
Mhm.
So I'm guessing closer to 5 when he starts school is the right age. But I spent some time really talking to different people that are in that in the pre-K arena about how to introduce artificial intelligence to children because it's going to be second nature to them.
Yeah.
It's not going
Yeah.
to be some wonderment like it is to us that grew up in an analog world.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so
Well, what
so
would
that's something
you?
that keeps me busy.
Yeah, no, definitely. So, what's your vision for that? I mean, how you wanted to do what this AI to be a conversational partner, to answer questions? What do you want it to do?
So see, even that's up in the air. So I definitely want it to be a conversation partner. I definitely think it can, to some extent, replace the World Book Encyclopedia.
Hmm.
I definitely want it to be able to do things like call Mimi or call Paper or whatever, or to reach out, whether it's text or voice, and those things are also easy to do now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing the world we live in now.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot of services you can just tap into.
definition is probably the biggest problem I have right now, is how much to put on there. And of course, you can build on it as they get older.
Yeah. Figure out the
but-
MVP, so to speak, right? Like, what is the minimum that you can do? It would make
Right.
sense. Maybe it could start by just because kids love to repeat them. I mean, it's part of how we learn, right? We ask the same
Right.
thing over and over again. And then why? Maybe it could be the why machine.
That's a great idea.
You know?
You can keep asking the why all you want, and it'll
But
keep
why? And then
generating
why?
answers.
And then, because at some point it says, well, and then it would say, because, and then the kid is like, okay, fine, moves on to the next question.
You can tell you're a father.
Because, and then, okay, all right, fine. Next, why is the
You're right.
ball round? Well, it's round because it needs to roll.
Because I said so.
At some point, it's I said so, and they, they're smart enough to realize that the difference in sizes is is such that it's wiser for them to just accept that, although it doesn't make any difference. A kid can have a lot of power over you just by looking at you in a certain way.
Yep.
But that's a great project, though, right? Especially you have to talk to a lot of people and learn about how kids learn, what makes sense for them to learn at what age. All of that
Right.
is, you're doing a lot of field research, so to speak, right now, right? In a way.
Yeah, and my daughter spent 10 years as a elementary school teacher, so she's a great resource as well.
You have all the elements there. You have a technologist, you have the subject, and you have
Right.
a researcher.
I have my beta tester ready.
And you have your
waiting.
beta starter ready right there, on the ready. Yeah, and I think there's this debate about, hey, is it healthy for kids to be talking to AIs and so forth? And I guarantee you, because I was reading about a lot of. It's interesting to see how people react to technology. You having noise again?
I'm good.
No.
No.
Yeah. How people in the past had such reactions to technologies that today we think are just a given, right? So, for example, when books started being introduced, is it a good thing to have books right now that you
Right.
right? Is it healthy for people to be secluded for hours and hours on their own, reading books, right? Because that's how you read a book, right? And some people say, well, books are what introduced the romantic era, the era of the isolated individual talking to themselves, which was not a thing that you did before. Most of the day was spent talking to other people, interacting. And so we're always like that. We're always, oh no, this is going to mess up humanity. And I'm like,
Right.
I don't think so. I think it will just be like we have now a thing we can talk to, and just like we have a radio clock and a microwave and whatever, and we just use it. And we as human beings are not a constant, we're evolving. Anyway, that's my take, but I'm fascinated by the fact that you are building this thing.
Yeah, it's a fun project. Like I said, I've been working on it for 3 years, and I have created this project on several different platforms. I've done it on IBM Watson. I've done it on some free source, open source stuff. I've built this thing on probably 3 or 4 different platforms: Alexa and I said IBM Watson and what's the other one? Anyway, so I know it can be done, and once you really built a conversational AI on one platform, going to another platform just isn't that difficult, because they're all intent based. So if you understand the basics of intents and entities, then it's not a big deal. And some of them have more extensibility than others. So that's important, because, but then I say, well, do I really want to do that? Do I really want to go that far out and that wide? And where do you draw the line? And I need to put a stake in the ground and just say, okay, I'm going to release it to him on this date, and therefore I have an end date to go towards where I'm just going to present it to him for one of the holidays.
Yeah, yeah. Do that, working backwards, say, okay, on this date, I will deliver
Right.
X, right? And then between now and then, how do we get this thing going? For me, that's the only way. Otherwise, I'm full of ideas and very quickly I find myself drowning in them. It's the
Right.
it's the eternal difficulty of saying no to many things that you want to do so that you can do the
Right.
one thing well. Yeah. Cool. So what's your favorite social platform where people can engage with you, or where you're most active? Is it LinkedIn, Twitter, or anything?
So I'm on all the social platforms, probably LinkedIn. Yeah.
LinkedIn. So
Uh,
people should go
yeah,
there and
it's Brian Garr. That's and I'm easy to find. There aren't that many of us out there called Brian Garr.
yeah.
And yeah, so I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. So if you drop me a note, I'll see it the same day, most likely.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we'll have a Lingofest page for you with all the links that you want folks to go to find out more about you and your company and how to get hold of you. Brian Garr, thank you so much for making the time.
It was so
Um,
much fun. I appreciate it.
I always love talking to you because you're a real person in the sense that you've done real things out there, not just a talker, but you can
We're going
talk.
to see you in Florida again.
Yeah, I mean that's we're there just for the listeners. We were there, I don't know, a month or so ago. We enjoyed ourselves. We were in Fort Lauderdale. Um, I don't want to tip people's. I don't want to tip my hand and let people know that that's such a great place, and then it gets overcrowded. But it is. It definitely exceeded my expectations in terms
Oh, good.
of what you can do, and also love the feeling over there and so on. A lot of cafes, a lot of
Right.
a lot of interesting stuff you can do. I mean, it's endless almost, right? And so yeah, looking forward to going back there. Um, and then meeting you again. The breakfast we had was delicious. I hope to do some more of that again soon. All right, Brian. Thank you so much again. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.